Hi, everybody. Very good morning to you. It is Monday indeed. It's been a wonderful weekend, but it is time to get back to work, even if it is, well, I mean, you could be on your summer holidays. I don't know. But if you are enjoying your summer holidays, I'm very happy for you. We're back. If you are back in work, don't worry. We've got some interesting things lined up for you today. Today's stream is brought to you in association with LK Formación, tailor-made solutions for your business. And what we're going to be doing today is looking at, as usual, the headlines, what's going on, but also we're going to start looking at some things that can help you in your business life. We wanted to stay interesting at the same time, so we're not going to go too heavy for you. It's not going to be like homework. We're keeping this as interesting as possible for you. Also, you're more than welcome here on YouTube to interact with me and send me your questions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make myself a little bit smaller here and bring myself over to the corner so that we can see our screen. Okay, I'll jump over there in the corner. I'm going to have a look and see what was happening while we were in bed sleeping, and see what was happening. Okay, let's jump in. So our first topic here is brought to you by the International Post. We have topics on climate, Colombia, Ukraine, and museum information of the night. So let's see what happened. This is my first time checking it as well, so I'm ad-libbing here. I don't know what happened. So in the United States, a record plan for the climate in the United States. It took 15 hours of debate in the Senate to conclude more than a year of negotiations, particularly with centrist figures in the party. But the Democrats finally hold with 51 votes and 50 against. So there was a vote, the Democrats on the Republicans. And it seems, I do remember looking at this, that when there is a tie, when there is a draw, when it is equal, that the vice president can make a vote to break the deadlock. Deadlock is when there is no way of passing. So let's have a look anyway. The Senate made history. This text will open a new era of renewable and affordable energy in the United States, rejoiced Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the upper house. Let's go down. So this is a package for climate change, which I think a lot of people will welcome. Let's go down here. If the package voted on Sunday does not have the scope of the $3,500 billion plan initially imagined by Joe Biden, it remains much more ambitious than what many in the party expected 2 weeks ago. Okay. Well, let's quickly then just check here, see if this makes sense. So it's basically, there was a vote to do something good in the United States, depending on which way you look at it. The text also provides for a reduction of the price of certain drugs or medication, and a minimum tax of 15% on large companies. Republicans, who all voted against the plan, denounce reckless public spending. They successfully oppose limiting the price of insulin to $35 per month. Yeah, okay, so that's the United States. Famous in the United States for the healthcare they have there, which is very, very expensive. Not like here in Europe, where I think in most countries here in Europe, it has been the UK, for example, Spain. I'm not sure about France or Germany, but generally, healthcare is accessible. It's accessible. It's affordable. In the United States, it's not accessible or affordable for a lot of people. Very, very expensive. When you get a job, you really, really, really need to make sure that you have health insurance. Otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble. I even believe that, yeah, I mean, they won't pick you up in an ambulance, for example. So when I was growing up, it was believed that the United States was, it was the place where everybody wanted to go. It was a super place, and it obviously is a super place. But these are things that are very, very important, and you realize they are so expensive when you don't have them. A good expression here to say in English would be, over here in Europe, we take healthcare for granted. To take something for granted is you just assume that it's there, it's free, it's always there. Like when you're a child, you take your parents for granted. They'll always give you what you want and so on. To take something for granted. Moving down, where's this? Colombia. Gustavo Petro was sworn in. To swear someone in is when they place their hand on the whatever book it may be, a legal book, a religious book, and then they say the words to become president. Colombia's first left-wing president officially began his term on Sunday after a handover ceremony characterized by symbolism and strong popular support in Bolivar Square, says the Spectator. I want to say to all Colombians and to all Colombians who are listening to me in this Bolivar Square, in the surrounding area, throughout Colombia and abroad. Abroad is outside the country, that our second chance begins today. We have earned it. It's time for change, said the former guerrilla. So guerrilla pronounced like the animal in English, guerrilla in Spanish. So in English we take the word from the Spanish. It's a guerrilla is kind of like, well, you probably know anyway. Okay, but for those of you who don't know, it's a kind of fighter who is not part of an army, and it's more like street to street fighting, shooting and hiding. Who, unlike his predecessor, Ivan Duque, asked for Simón Bolívar's sword to be included in the ceremony, insists El Spectator. Okay. Well, maybe this is because he's left-wing. The left-wing sees themselves as more... Simón Bolívar was the person who liberated many countries, I think, in South America. You guys know more than I do, if you're from there, obviously. But for those of you who don't know, so he had his sword, and I imagine it seems that the the right-wing, maybe not so... may not care so much for Bolivar. I don't know. It's getting too political for me already. The new Colombian president also called for an end to the war on drugs, a failure, according to him. It strengthened the mafias and weakened the state. Well, this is quite normal when presidents begin. They want drugs, a war on drugs and so on. Okay. And finally, concerns continue around the I can't pronounce that word, but it's Zaporizhzhia power plant, which I think is in, does it say? Ukraine. The fighting did not stop during the weekend near Ukrainian nuclear power plant, the largest in Europe. Damage was observed on Saturday, prompting an automatic shutdown of one of the 6 reactors, according to Energy. I can't pronounce today, but this is a strange word. Energoatom, the Ukrainian energy regulator. Other explosions were reported on social networks on Sunday, reports the Wall Street Journal, which could not verify the information. Since the start of the war, the Russians have controlled the town of Enerhodar, where the plant is located, which is still managed by Ukrainian staff or personnel. A nuclear disaster was avoided by a miracle, but miracles do not always last. All right. That is in the Ukraine, where it's getting scary around a nuclear power station, because if we have a disaster there, depending on which way the wind blows, different places, it could be very, very bad. And here our last one. While we were sleeping, an English museum will return works to Nigeria. Following a request in January from the African country's National Commission for Museum and Monuments, and after consultation with historians, artists and school children, the Horniman Museum of London agreed to return 72 objects to Nigeria. including bronzes looted from Benin City in 1897. So when you loot, it's like stealing. Often looting happens when there's a storm or a hurricane, superstorm, and everybody goes and hides in their house, but people take this opportunity to go and loot the shops, rob the shops. So the British Army looted when they invaded the area. It is clear that these objects were acquired by force, said Eve Salomon, the chairwoman of the museum's board of trustees, adding that it was both moral and appropriate to return them to Nigeria. Sky News highlighted that the British Museum has so far refused to hand over 2,500-year-old sculptures to Greece, despite the Prime Minister's direct request last year, to his counterpart, which means I'm the Prime Minister and my counterpart is the other Prime Minister in whatever country. This is something I do know about, that the British Museum, is that right? The British Museum does have, and I think a lot of museums in the world, if you were a colonizing country, for example, many countries in Europe colonized, and they stole or looted historical pieces from the countries. What do you think? Are they better protected here in Europe, or should they all be given back to who they belong to originally, or will they not be safe? So yeah, that's the situation in Greece. They're waiting, but the Nigerians will get 72 objects back. Okay, going to jump into something now I want to talk about, which is human resources. I want to give some phrases that may be useful to you. And this is brought to you by FluentU. And we have 12 phrases, if I'm correct. Let me go and double check. 12 top English phrases used in human resources today. But the most important one, and I think they should have this in job interviews, is to let you take in your coffee, because I'm going to have my coffee. Oh yeah, very nice. To focus. Right, so the 12 top English phrases used in human resources today. Okay, this will be very useful for you guys. And we'll go to number 1. Let's make it as big as possible. Apply for a job. To apply for a job involves putting in or submitting an application for an available job position. Let's look at an example. More people seem to apply for the jobs that we advertise online. So how do you guys apply for jobs? Do you look for advertisements online, which I think is the most common nowadays? Do you look in magazines, newspapers, or is that too old-fashioned? Soon we shall be also uploading some interview tips, so look out for that on the website. I'm going to be uploading that soon. That is to apply for a job. Have you guys applied for any job soon? Would you like to apply for a new job? Let me know. Fill a vacancy is number 2. The phrase to fill a vacancy simply means to hire or employ someone for an available job position. It is an available job position. A vacancy was when something is empty. So you have a job position available. When people often would go around, or when you're younger, you're looking for a summer job, or in the time when you went directly into a business and you would walk in and you would talk to the person at the desk and you'd say, I'd just like to know if there are any vacancies available in this area, that area. So a vacancy is an available position. So it can be a vacancy for a job position, and a vacancy is also for anything. Any vacancies in, if there's something that you need to apply for a job or not. So we need to fill a vacancy. Okay, let's have a look at an example. Our finance executive will be leaving next month, so we really need to fill that vacancy quickly. Next, number 3, to take up or accept an offer. If a candidate, the person who is applying for the job, agrees to take up or accept an offer, it means that they can accept the job that your company is offering them. I hope he takes up our offer. He seems to have the qualifications and experience we're looking for. So if you take up an offer, it's like, yes, I would like to take up your offer, or in an email you say, I'd like to take up your offer. I would like to accept your offer if you have decided you would like the job. And the opposite, obviously, is to turn down, the phrasal verb. So up we have take up, which is the phrasal verb, and here turn down, or decline an offer. If, however, the candidate decides not to accept the job that your company is offering them, they can decline or turn down the offer for whatever reason that may be. Certain conditions, perhaps. Who knows what it could be? It could be money. It could be the first offer that you offer them. I'm disappointed that he has turned down our offer. He would have been such a good fit for our team. Why did he turn down the offer? An offer perhaps that he took up in a different company. The conditions weren't favorable. Maybe you're asking him to work full-time in the office. You don't pay overtime. Holiday conditions, working conditions. You will all have your reasons for taking up or turning down an offer. Okay, number 5 is to set up an interview. So after shortlisting or selecting a few suitable candidates from a pool of job applicants, Human Resources HR would then set up an interview with each of them. Setting up an interview involves contacting the candidates and arranging a specific time to interview them. We've been trying to set up an interview with him since last week. So you're trying to organize an interview with that person. Set up an interview. Number 6, have a promising career. If someone is said to have a promising career, it means they're showing signs of a successful future in their career. Your career is your professional life. In some countries, it's your degree, what you did in university. But here in English, your career is your professional life. She has recently returned from working overseas, abroad, and now has a promising career on Wall Street. Wall Street is the financial area, I believe, of New York. And in the UK, in London, the financial area is called the City. Okay, not to be confused with the City of London, which you would refer to as London, or the city centre, or often people say the West End. Native people or native Londoners say, they'll say, I'm going up London, or the West End often means the centre of the city. But the city, when people talk about the city in London, it means the financial area. Well, it's one of the business districts, because you have a few different ones, like the Docklands, where Canary Wharf and so on. Number 7, resign from a job. If you resign from your job, you're leaving your current job position and you will no longer be working for the company. You may also use a less formal phrase, such as quit your job, to mean the same thing. Before you resign from your job, you should consider if you'll be able to find a better job. So when you resign, normally you give them a letter, you let them know, you say, I'm going to leave at the end of the next month, or I'm going to leave in whatever the legal timeline is to resign. And quit is a bit less formal, yes. Work from home. We'll see this abbreviated very often now in English, WFH. So when you see the abbreviation, WFH, that's what it is. Working from home. It's not a fancy name. Some people are using telework or things like this. But what I commonly see the most is working from home. These days, many companies offer their employees the option of work from home. To work from home simply means that instead of going into the office to perform your job, you work in your own home during a certain period of time. Okay, you're working from home. Being able to work from home is a real plus for mothers or fathers with school-going children. Such as myself, I'm working from home. I have children in school, and it really is useful for me because I am the parent who collects. Okay, I got two phrasal verbs here. When I drop off my children to school, and when I collect them, I pick them up. Okay, to drop off and pick them up. So I with school going children. So that's working from home. WFH. Take time off. Number 9. If you take time off, you ask your employer, which is the company that you work for, permission not to work for a certain period of time. This may be in order to go on vacation or recover from illness. Or, yeah, it could be anything. You need to take time off. The term time off, which refers to this period of time that you're not expected to work because of the arrangements you've made with your employer, may be used with other verbs. For instance, you may say that you have time off, get time off, receive time off, or have been given time off. Okay. Well, it's making it a bit complicated. Take time off, need time off, receive time off. Okay. Time off is what you need to know here. He's been traveling so much at his new job that he couldn't even take time off to attend his best friend's wedding. And we're on to number 10. To renew someone's contract. To renew my contract, to renew a contract. I was actually talking to somebody today. I'm getting some work done here. Let's say I'm getting work done in my house, trying to get some windows put in. And I said, we have a contract, of course, with builders. We say builders for the people organizing your house. There is a contract. This contract needs to be fulfilled. It needs to be honored. We won't be making a new contract. We won't. I suppose it's a bit different to renew. Let's look at renew. But anyway, to renew your contract means to extend the period of your employment contract with your company. In this situation, your company is also renewing your contract by agreeing to continue employing you. I think of footballers, for example. It's every year they're always renewing their contracts, more money, in talks with their agents and so on. My worries are over. I get to keep my job. I've just been told my company intends to renew my contract. And okay, then we have to terminate someone's contract. Okay, I'll just read it. The opposite of renewing your contract would be to terminate your contract, which basically means to end the employment contract you have with the company. Again, this is something that can be done either by an employee or an employer. Yes, okay, if you don't want to work there anymore, you terminate your contract. If they don't want you working there anymore, they'll terminate your contract. So that's how it works. If sales don't pick up or improve, the company may be forced to terminate their contracts. And finally, give notice. I mentioned this earlier. If you give notice to your employer, you're informing them officially of your intention to resign or leave the company. If, on the other hand, your company gives you notice, they're informing you officially that they're terminating your employment. The owners have decided to close down the restaurant and will soon give notice to the staff. Okay, so this is the situation. Often you hand in your notice. That when you give your notice, you're giving it to someone. And to hand in is a good phrasal expression. To give. It means to give. And we would often say, I will hand in my notice. Okay, so that's some very useful expressions there. Go over them or become familiar with them in the human resources world. We're going back here now, and I want to see on a more light-hearted note, get away from business for a few seconds now. It's a Monday. We don't want it to be too much. We're going to most read street art. How long have we been on here? Coming up on half an hour. So this is street art. Make sure I'm not covering too much of the screen here. Okay, and I'll bring that up so we can see it. Street art. With Invader, another way to survey cities. In Paris, Marseille, London, Tokyo, and New York, the French street artist has multiplied pixel mosaics and sidewalks. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. We'll probably see some examples in a minute. An app allows you to hunt them to earn points. There is nothing to gain, this American journalist is surprised, except the pleasure of walking around looking at cities differently. This is an artist who... I don't remember the 80s games, which was Space Invaders, very basic game where you are one of these Star Wars fighter planes or ships, and you're trying to kill the aliens. It's the 80s game where you shoot up the screen, and this was called Space Invaders. Let me see if I can just get a picture. Okay, that's okay. More typical. This is a more typical example here of the Space Invader. Okay, so this is an artist from France who goes around different cities and puts these up. And indeed, here where I live in Malaga in Spain, we have one I noticed recently. What do you think? Is it cool or not? Let me go up and we'll just read and see what we get from this. At the top of the Eiffel Tower, while most visitors immortalize the panorama, Laura Fromm turns her back on the City of Light. Her own zoom is trained on a small colored mosaic about 25 centimeters attached to the monument itself. This street artist, instead of doing graffiti, puts on these mosaics, and generally they are tolerated. This artwork made of small tiling tiles is inspired by pixel characters from a 1978 video game, the year I was born, Space Invaders. Of these mosaics, there are thousands on buildings, sidewalks, under road bridges in major cities and in France, but also elsewhere in Europe, North America, Africa, Asia, and recently in Bolivia. In the world, 80 cities invaded. Laura Fromm has spotted these invaders in Paris, Marseille, Avignon, and Brussels. To date, she has counted 1,675. If she knows the precise figure of this inventory, it is because she downloaded an invader hunting app called Flash Invaders. Give me a second. I'm going to grab my phone. Let's have a look. Flash Invaders. See if we can download this. Maybe you guys can do this as well. Flash in... what's it called again? Flash Invaders. Okay. Let's see. Yes. Flash Invaders. And we'll open the app. It's quite good as well. When we're doing this, we can interact and do things as well online. I can ask you guys to do things. And we can, okay. So, while this is the privacy settings while using the app. Okay. So what have we got? Okay, so I basically have to set up an account, but there it is, Flash Invaders, and we'll set up a new account at some point. Let me try and do it quickly. Oh no. I want to put in just my name. We'll put in our name as Dream Better English. I want money from this application, by the way. Dream Better English. And okay, okay. Help. What am I supposed to do here? Flash as many Space Invaders as you can, score points. Okay, so this is, I'm not sure if this is the game I'm looking for. Generally this happens, doesn't it? Let's see what it says when we Flash Invaders. New account page about the Flash Invaders official app from the artist Invader. Track down his street with Flash Time. Okay, so you go and take pictures of them. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's Flash Invaders. Download it, go around. It's a good way to kind of visit your city, actually. I think often when people are going to cities, nowadays that you have the traditional tours, but I think sometimes people feel a bit maybe intimidated. You know, for example, you go to a city and it's like, so this cathedral was built and it was in the time of this queen, and it was actually the Duke of so and so, and it's kind of, you know, intense, historical. But a lot of people now really fancy doing graffiti tours, open art tours. This you can do on your own walking tour. I think it's a good thing about the using your phone and so on. It's like really opened up cities to different ways of discovering a city. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have a look at that myself. And let's continue with the article. The artist behind these mosaics, who calls himself Invader, has been placing his works in the most unexpected corners of big cities for more than 20 years now. Yeah, I remember. I was in France when this started, and I do remember seeing a couple of these mosaics and so over 20 years. Yeah, I was in France at the time. In Paris alone, we find its little invaders even in or trendy bars and restaurants and around museums. Over time, the relationship of Invader's love to his works has evolved, and the pleasure of chance coming across a mosaic during a walk has given way to regular hunts, meter in hand. The Flash Invaders application developed by the artist has something to do with it, since players accumulate points for each work identified. There are more than 232,000 active players to date on the app. 232,001, thank you, because I just joined. And this number continues to increase with a good 1,000 new users each week. So here we have a kind of pixelated view. It's pretty cool. Reminds me in a way of Banksy, this type of mosaic, and also done, and it reminds me of Minecraft, the game, the popular video game Minecraft. It's another way to explore asphalt, which means the road. An invasion born of revolt against technology has therefore ended up appropriating smartphone technology to better bring its followers back to the streets, between the asphalt and the sky. Okay. Okay, so brilliant, yeah. That's that. That is, you guys can check that article out. Where is the article, the original article? Let's have a look at this one on the Eiffel Tower. The blue one. And this one's a totally different style up here. Yeah, the one in Bolivia. Located 4,000 meters above sea level in Bolivia. Okay. And any more? Oh, that's a pretty cool one. Where's this one? London. Yes, we have one here. We have one near here where I live. I'm going to go and take a picture of it later with the new app. Let's at the limit of the law. So is this illegal? This is street art. So we need to know, like, do you agree? Should we be allowed? Or should you ask for permission? But then it takes away from the kind of, you know. Street art has a complex relationship with the law. Actually find myself talking with my son about graffiti and so on, because he says, why do people do it if they're not allowed to do it? And you have to try and explain that it's sometimes it can be a good thing to be at the limit of the law. Invader, from a classical training in art school says he thought of this project not only to fight against the encroachment of digital, but also to denounce the rigid framework. Yeah. Okay, something kind of bringing art into the open. The museums and so on. It's like, yeah, it's kind of, museums sometimes I feel can be anti-art. It's like you have to go to a specific, it's telling you need to go into a room in a building, hidden away, and that's art. Yeah, it can be restricting. Very often his works have taken place without authorization, he acknowledges, so they are theoretically illegal in France. But the legislation in this area is applied unevenly. In 2016, the SNCF, which I believe is the railway authority in France, sued. Is when you bring someone to court for money, is you sue somebody. The street artist M. Chat for drawings made in a train station in Paris. In Paris, once art appears on something, they try to get rid of it as quick as possible. In practice, however, site owners and municipalities often live well with street art, in particular because they appreciate the crowd it attracts. The Paris Tourist Office has fully embraced the cause and offers themed guided tours. The Ministry of Justice itself, while recalling that damage to property is an offence, recognises that these works contribute to street life. Some works become real popular attractions, leading to specific tourism through routes in certain municipalities. And Paris is the capital of the invaders. Let's try and go quickly. This is the case of Paris, the lair of invader, which means the lair is kind of like where animals live in, like their home would be a lair. Like, I forget what type of animal lives in a lair because they all have different names. But it kind of means their home, who claims 1,471, and one of the city's most open to urban art. The art has occasionally carried out collaborations. The artist collaborated with the municipality, including one that gave birth to his largest mosaic, a 9-meter high black, red and white invader, a stone's throw from the Centre Pompidou. And if some works have been removed by the owners of the prison. So some, yes, I suppose if you don't know and you have a building and you find one of these on your building, you'll remove it. But others like to keep it. A wooden frame has been set up to protect the little aliens surrounded by a rainbow installed on the... Yes, people are protecting them now. Another problem is the risk of theft of these increasingly famous and highly rated pieces. Works created by invader for sale reached sky high. We think we had this before. Sky high. It's when a very high price, driving the price of the black market. Black market is the market where you don't pay tax. It's illegal. The illegal market. In 2017, for example, thieves disguised as municipal employees stole more than a dozen invader achievements. To protect his work, the artist claims to now use more resistant glues and cements. So there you go. I'm not going to go down. That is... Oh, more pictures. Cool. This one looks to be in Tokyo in 2014. It's pretty cool. And any more? No, we're done. Okay. So that's street art. What we're going to look at now is our word of the day, idiom of the day. Come from EnglishClub.com. Check it out. And we'll start at the bottom today. Saying of the day. A short prayer penetrates heaven. The implication is that brevity is effective in winning the ear of heaven and by extension anyone from whom we seek help. Okay. So I've never heard this before. I've never used it before, but it could be a short prayer penetrates heaven. So if you ask something briefly, if you make it short, it can often work. This is the idea I get. Instead of making something long and explaining too much, if you just say, look, let's give an example. I need something, and I'm talking to a friend, and they say, well, just ask your brother. Let's say it's his car. I don't know. No, he'll never give me his car because he loves that car too much. Like, just tell him that you just need it. It's very important. You just need it for the day. A short prayer. Look, a short prayer penetrates heaven. That's the idea I get from it. I never heard this before, but it makes sense, and I'm going to try and use it in the future. It's a type of expression that maybe your uncle would use, or your mother used, or someone that use, but it does make sense. But the implication that brevity, like shortness, is effective in winning the ear of heaven, and by extension anyone. So brevity, okay. If you explain this is what it is. If you explain what you need quickly and in a short amount of time, then you can get what you want. But if you make it all complicated, you're not going to get what you want. So a short prayer penetrates heaven. Okay, and the idea of this is God, if you believe in God, God will listen to your prayer. He has time to listen to your short prayer. Okay, good. Brevity means short. Slang of the day. Ice. Okay, we know what ice is, and it's from the United States and Australia, this slang. What can ice mean? I'm going to take a guess. To mean cool, maybe ice cool. To maintain your calmness. I'm not entirely sure. Let's have a look. Okay. Ice is an illegal drug, crystalline methamphetamine or speed. So ice, it's a type of drug. Okay. So you might read in an article in the newspaper that somebody was put in prison because they were caught with some ice. They were caught with some cocaine. They were caught with some heroin. Ice. Example. Tommy was arrested for buying ice from a guy who turned out to be a cop. Cop is a police officer. Ice is one of the most dangerous street drugs around at the moment. Okay, so it's a type of drug. Okay, so this is the slang. It's a methamphetamine when you talk about it scientifically. Right, ice, okay. Phrasal verb of the day. Knock over. I definitely don't want to knock over my coffee. What do you guys think knock over is? Knock over. Let's have a look. To hit somebody with a vehicle or injure or kill them. Okay, I have a different way of looking at this, but let's look at an example. Knock somebody over. We were walking along the side of the road when this crazy guy in a truck nearly knocked us over. B, get knocked over. Every day a few people get knocked over in the roads in this city. I'm going to debate this one because for me, I used to say, or I would say, knock down. Knocked over is something I would do to my coffee cup. I would knock it over. Like I'm doing something and my hand hits. I say, I knocked over the cup. I knocked over my coffee. But when it's a car, I would say knock down. And I'm pretty sure most countries and internationally say knock down. Obviously, you go places and then you realize, I'm in Australia and here they say knocked over. So it could be that way. It could be. We do need to be flexible, and it's something you can change very quickly. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, but in the UK and Ireland, knock down can mean to exactly this, to be hit someone with with a vehicle, injure or kill them. And just this morning, I was nearly knocked down myself because of a distracted driver. It wasn't really her fault, but I was crossing at a zebra crossing. A zebra crossing In the UK, we'll have the two flashing beacons, the two flashing orange lights, and the black and white. I think we saw in our last article, if we go back, I'm going to show you a zebra crossing. Let's go down. Here. Zebra crossing. Do they have the beacons? Right. In Tokyo, they don't have the lights. And here in Spain, very often, they don't have the lights. But this zebra crossing that I was crossing at this morning wasn't very clear. The woman was a bit distracted, but I was looking anyway to make sure I wasn't going to... But she could have knocked me down. She could have knocked me over. Okay, so be careful out there, everybody. Don't assume because it's your right. And also, when you have more, when the cars need to stop, it means the pedestrian or the walker has right of way. It means you have more power. So the pedestrians have more power here. They have right of way, and the cars have to stop. And often you have a big road and a small road. The bigger road has right of way. Where am I? What were we looking at? The phrasal verb of the day, to knock someone over, to get knocked over. Okay, so you can knock somebody over in a car, and you can knock your cup of coffee over, your cup of tea, your orange juice. Be careful, especially not to knock it over onto your keyboard. That's a disaster. Okay, and we're going to the final one here. Is the idiom of the day. Vote with your feet. Okay. This is definitely an expression I use. And especially when I talk about this country that I live in or certain countries and the way you especially with customers, okay? So to vote with your feet means you don't complain. It just means you won't, if you come back, it means you're happy with the service. Your feet will bring you back into the shop. And if you're not happy, your feet will bring you out of the shop and they won't bring you back. Okay, so let's have a look. If you vote with your feet, you show your opinion of something by acting in a certain way, such as by buying something if you like it, or not buying it if you don't like it. For example, when the price of concert tickets nearly doubled, music fans voted with their feet and didn't go to the concerts. Okay. Opponents of the fur trade are trying to get people to vote with their feet by refusing to buy from shops that sell any clothes that use fur. Okay. So, yeah, you won't go. It means you won't go somewhere, or so you vote with your feet. Rather than complaining vocally or, by writing a message or a complaint or something like this, it's just your feet will bring you if it's good, and you won't. I often, when I'm talking about customer service in a place in different countries, here where I live right now, and I've lived in a few different places, I live in Spain, for example. If someone brings me my coffee and I like it hot, but it's cold, or like just a bit warm, which we say lukewarm, in Spain, I'll say, sorry, could you make this hotter for me? And that might seem very normal in a lot of countries, but in other countries, people are too embarrassed to say. They don't want to complain. They don't want to make a scene, and they won't say anything. So then I might decide, well, I don't like the coffee there. They always give me the coffee cold. I'm not going to go back. I'll go somewhere else. I'm going to vote with my feet. And that's very common in the UK, where people often perhaps don't really like to... it's not a problem. Most of the time, the people they'll make your coffee hot. It's not a problem. But just it's tradition of people don't like to complain or to be seen complaining. Whereas here in Spain, it's absolutely fine. You say there's a problem, and they'll just fix it for you. No problem at all. They don't mind the complaint. I find it quite refreshing here, and it's good. It's made me more confident in myself for complaining. When I was growing up, you wouldn't complain. You tell the people at the table, but you don't go back. And it's a pity because then the owner of the business doesn't know why you didn't go back. So there you go. That is to vote with your feet. And a very good example. Let me know of times you've voted with your feet. Let me know what you think of the way it is in your country or wherever you're listening, how you complain, and what would happen if you complain, because sometimes it can turn into an argument and people don't want the conflict. That's that. Let's go back. We were looking at this, and we're going in to see what the most read is again. Let's see what's happening in the economy quickly. I want to check on my time. Got another 10 minutes or so left. So I'm going to check on my time. Back in we go. And the street art, hip hop from Beirut to Mecca. Female rappers free themselves from codes. Gastronomy. Let's go into the economy. In Zimbabwe, slow death of funeral directors. Algeria would like to join BRICS, which is these developing countries such as Russia, Brazil, India, China. Finance, Ukraine can no longer pay its debts. Debt is the money you owe. Obstacles, the permanent barriers erected by Israel in the West Bank. Okay, what I'm going to do is, instead of looking at that, I'm going to look at some business expressions. And we're going to look at some business expressions. We'll look at about maybe 5 or 6 before we end. Today is I hope you're learning a lot today. There is a lot that we looked at. It can be quite useful for you. But then, look, you don't need to remember everything. Just become familiar, be open-minded. And we'll be trying to do this program and making it and improving on it as much as I can while you guys enjoy your coffee in the morning. Another thing is, let me know as well, like what time you begin work in the morning. Is your morning intense? Is it relaxed? How are you enjoying your August? What are you doing for your holidays? Let me know. And we're going to get into number 1 here, which is cut corners. So it is the 30 business English idioms and phrases brought to you by Preply and Cut Corners. The new filing system won't work if we cut corners. So what does it mean? To cut corners is to complete a task in a fast and careless way, to do something without paying attention to details, thereby making mistakes or causing new problems. So let's say, for example, you were asked to do something and you hired people that weren't qualified. You pay them less. You're cutting corners. Cutting corners is, you're trying to do it quickly and not properly. So you need to make sure that you don't cut corners, but very often people do. Like, for example, if you're trying to get renovations done in your house, the builders might try to cut corners. Number 2, back to the drawing board. The client hated your proposal, so we'll have to go back to the drawing board. He's going back to the drawing board on this one. To go back to the drawing board means to start again from the beginning with a completely new idea. The phrase makes you think of a blackboard being wiped clean. It is most often used when an idea or project is rejected. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you have this in a mental image of you are explaining your idea by drawing it on a board, like when you were in school, the teacher would have a blackboard. Now often it's a whiteboard, and you explain the idea and then the idea is rejected. Well, then you need to clean the board and you need to start with a new idea. So this is when we say, okay, then back to the drawing board. For example, let's give you an easy example. How can we as a country here, let's say I live in Spain, how can we enter in and sell products to, it's a famous one I remember seeing actually with Vladimir Putin, and they were talking about how to increase exports of pork. And one of the ministers said, we can sell to those countries. And he said, well, that's a really silly idea because they're Muslim countries. They don't eat pork. And the guy goes, okay, yeah, back to the drawing board. You know, have to start again with a new idea. Okay, it sounds quite friendly when you use it to say that you're scrapping your own idea. Asking someone else to go back to the drawing board on a project is usually a bit strong. Yeah, I suppose so. If you're asking someone when they have a project, that you're basically rejecting their idea and you're going to ask them to go back and redo everything, come up with something new, because you are saying, in a way, your idea sucks. Sucks is an American expression to say is not good. More slang, but it's very common. Number 3, call it a day. Right, team, we've made plenty of progress today. I think it's time to call it a day. Or the trial hasn't worked. I'm afraid we're going to have to call it a day. To call it a day means that you're going to give up on something. This can refer to taking a break on a project because you have reached a good point to stop, or to stopping something completely. It can be negative or positive depending on the context. Taken literally, it is a phrase stating that the working day is officially over. That was a whole day. I declare that day finished. Okay, let's call it a day. Yeah. The most common way I find that this is employed or used is just to say, okay, let's just stop for now. But if you just say, let's call it a day, it's like, let's finish, let's go home, let's finish. You can say that at any point to your team or who you're working. Okay, guys, let's call it a day and we'll see each other tomorrow. But if you were to say, let's call it a day on the project, then that would kind of mean, let's just stop this project. But the most common, as I said, the most common way to use let's call it a day, and you can use this so easily with your colleagues, is let's just stop for today. Whatever you're doing, let's just finish. Let's just stop work. And I would recommend you try and use this. Definitely common. Okay. If you're working with someone, okay, come on, let's call it a day. Workflow, number 4. I'm having some workflow issues and I won't be able to help you until next week. How is your workflow at the moment? This extremely ungrammatical business phrase has become very common in offices. Workflow, unsurprisingly, refers to the pace that an employee is set tasks and expected to complete them by. I'm having some workflow issues and I won't be able to help you until next week. Okay. Workflow. When someone says that they have workflow issues, they often mean that they are overworked. It places the blame on the flow of incoming tasks. A river flows. It moves like this. I.e. communication within the workplace rather than work itself. Oh, I need to see this again. When someone says they have workflow issues, they often mean that they are overworked. It places the blame on the flow of incoming tasks, i.e. communication within the workplace, rather than the work itself, which is quite smart and a good way of explaining a missed deadline. Okay. In rare cases, the term workflow issues also describes not having enough work. Most companies actually use project management software to manage their workflows and projects to not have workflow issues. How is your workflow is a way of asking your colleague whether they have too much work to do or whether they feel underused. People can be reluctant to answer or ask a direct question about how busy they are at their job. So this is a polite way to talk about the problem. Okay, yeah, it's good. How's your workflow? Do you have too much work? Do you have too little work? Do you have any workflow issues? We saw over here, workflow issues. Issues are problems. When you say something, I'm having a few issues with my computer, and for workflow issues means problems. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look here. And guys, I'm going to leave it at that for today. This was me, James, with LK Formación. And I'm going to leave it at that for today. I hope it was helpful for you. We're going to look and finish those phrases for Business English. And I should be here tomorrow, if not the next day, or very soon with you guys to give you more help with your listening, speaking, pronunciation, vocabulary, whatever it is, looking at different things. And also very happy for you guys to make any comments and give feedback. We'll try and make this as interesting as we can for you in the morning times, or whenever you want to listen to it. So to make English a bit different to the usual English and not make it so focused on feeling like kind of a job that you're expected to do, you know. So there you go. That was me, James. I'll talk to you guys. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch up with you very soon in the next stream. All the best. See you later. Bye bye.